11.5. 11.5, which is about alternating series test. So just to remind us all, what is an alternating series?
It goes from negative to positive or positive to negative.
Yeah, flip-flop signs, right? We've said that before. So an alternating series is a series whose terms are alternately positive and negative. Okay, so it's flip-flops back and forth between positive and negative. So we've seen a lot of examples of these already, but I'll remind you of what these look like. So maybe your series looks like 1 minus 1/2 plus 1/3 minus 1/4 plus 1/5 and so on. I could write this as a series with a general formula here. My first term is positive, -1 to the n minus 1, 1 over n. Okay. And then the second one I'm going to give you is a series that looks like, say, -1/2 plus 2/3 minus 3/4 plus 4/5 minus 5/6 and so on. And if you write this with a formula, it's going to be -1 to the n over n plus 1. Okay. So both of these are alternating series, but if you look at the first one, it starts by being positive, and the second one, it starts by being negative. So that difference is what's making the -1 to the n minus 1 and -1 to the n be different. It depends on if I start with a positive term or a negative term, okay? But in either case, I always have -1 to this power, either n minus 1 or n, for an alternating series. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up our alternating series, just like this, into this -1 to the n minus 1 or -1 to the n. And then what's left over, 1 over n, or in this case, n over n plus 1, what's left over is positive. So you're kind of separating off the part that's flipping signs, and then what you're left with is something that's positive, okay? So let me write that down. Alternating series terms have the form. They either look like -1 to the n minus 1 bn or -1 to the n bn, and these b sub n's are guaranteed to be positive. So if you look at the examples I have above, I underlined the bn's in blue, the 1 over n and the n over n plus 1, okay? So now that we know exactly what an alternating series looks like, I can now tell you what the alternating series test does for us, okay? Alternating series test. So if your series is actually alternating, so if the alternating series, so there are two ways that your series could look like it's alternating. In the formula, it's -1 to the n, or -1 to the nbn. So if your series is alternating, and two things have to happen. Satisfies. So the first one is that the positive terms, the BNs, positive part of your alternating series has to be decreasing. And then the second part is that the limit of this positive part is also 0. So if your series satisfies those two conditions, then it's going to converge. Okay. So a couple things I want to mention. It's an alternating series test, so the only place you can use it is if your series is alternating. The second thing you probably want to notice is that the only conclusion is that a series converges. So you can't use the alternating series test to say that a series diverges, okay? The only conclusion is that it converges.